Good morning, everyone. For the past 2 years, I've had the distinct pleasure of being the ambassador to the Youth Summit here at Copenhagen Fashion Summit. Students from 29 colleges around the world have tackled some of the most pressing and complex issues that contribute to fashion's unintended consequences. The students have looked at issues and proposed solutions to the lack of transparency surrounding raw materials, the lack of knowledge and communication between main office and production facilities. They have passionately worked to elucidate and create solutions to the lives of fashion laborers in production facilities that employ unskilled labor and the human costs to people working there. But they've also confronted issues of identity and the conformity imposed by the ubiquitousness of marketing, and how images with their prejudices and preferences may bring about a sort of tyranny of image, imposing identity on us all. The students raised a clarion call for freedom to be authentic in the midst of an imposition of norms that are reductive and which exclude the majority of people on the basis of race, gender, and sexual identity, weight, shape, and age. In his treatise on liberty, John Stuart Mills wrote that social tyranny may be a more formidable kind of tyranny than many kinds of political oppression, because it leaves fewer means of escape, penetrating more deeply into the details of life and enslaving the soul itself. The individual needs protection against society's prevailing opinion and feeling, against the tendency of society to impose its own ideas and practices as rules of conduct on those who dissent from them. Society may even try to prevent the formation of any individuality not in harmony with its ways and compel all characters to fashion themselves upon the model of its own. Fashion has often been a voice of support of freedom and individuality. The message from the next generation at this Youth Summit is clear. We want freedom that comes from inclusivity and authenticity. The students have participated in a 2-year sustainability program put together by Global Fashion Agenda, Copenhagen School of Design, and Technology KEA in collaboration with Pandora and the United Nations Global Compact. Pandora challenged 4 teams to deep dive into the jewelry value chain. The teams were tasked with delivering a guiding principle and concrete actions on how the industry can drive gender equality across operations and across society. The 4 areas of the value chain were raw material, sourcing, production, and citizen society. I am delighted to introduce to you the voice of the next generation. The Youth Fashion Summit was formed as a competition, and among the 4 teams, a winner team was selected by a jury. Here's a video that showcases the winning team. Is that right?
No, not yet.
No,
I think we
first.
Oppressive stereotypes have different forms and faces around the world.
Gender is one of the many ways we marginalize people.
The fashion industry is supposed to be at the forefront of innovation.
But it's behind the times.
Fashion is about identity expression.
But is it empowering people, or is it just perpetualizing gender stereotypes?
Fashion companies are in the privileged position to influence and reflect societal changes.
But we are not seeing this happening.
Citizens also have the power to foster change.
And they are creating movements that go viral.
They are forcing decision makers to take action.
It's time to take the risk fashion.
It's time to get off your ass fashion.
Because if you do, others will follow.
But how do you start?
It's easy.
We ask you to be a role model in questioning stereotypes.
Take a good hard look at your boardroom and notice who is missing at the table.
We ask you to be proactive and to be authentic.
And to address people as humans and not genders.
And once we remove gender inequality,
We can all focus on so much more.
so we ask you, fashion, can you afford to do nothing?
Each of the groups are now going to tell you what they did, and then the winning team will tell you about what drove them.
So first of all, look around. See who's here. Whose voices are missing, though? The fact that you're here, I'm here, that's a privilege in itself, and I think we need to acknowledge that. The real question is, how are we going to use that privilege and use it to truly tackle gender inequality? Well, how do we see this happening across the supply chain? Starting with raw materials, take a moment and imagine this. You live in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Your name is Aisha. When you were 14, you were married to a member of the local militia who were fighting over a gemstone mine. When you were 15, you had your first of 3 children. You can't read or write, and due to strong political tensions, it's dangerous for you to go out without your husband. We don't know this woman. We can't trace this story. Women in the raw materials sector often work in an informal manner, in geographically decentralised locations, where they face increased gender discrimination, and their options for changing their circumstances are limited. The future remains uncertain, but it should be shaped by technology and circular practices. So you need to work with these communities to transition them and use that as a tool to empower these vulnerable groups. To do this, we need to know these communities. So you will collaborate to reveal existing networks and empower grassroots initiatives which connect local communities with the broader global supply chain. You'll achieve traceability, and the people in these communities will be empowered, which we know is key to achieving gender equality. Look around. These are the people you need to collaborate with to make it happen. We want traceability. Do you?
Moving along. Moving along the supply chain. On the other side of the world, there is Lisa. Lisa works as a sourcing manager who is weighted by her workload. Each time she gets an anxiety attack, she feels like she's unable to breathe. What do we do to lift the heaviness of her chest? Yes, there are many great initiatives out there, but even the leading sustainability ones don't have profound impact on gender equality issues. That's why we urge you to build empathetic relationships to ensure equal opportunities for everyone. We, the youth, require from you to start cultivating strong foundations for collectivity by crossing cultures, functions, brands, and communities. Human connections helps us better understand each other's realities and enables open communications. This is primarily to even up the distance between people like Aisha and Lisa. Once we have strengthened the local community networks and sourcing professionals have come together, we would be able to promote knowledge sharing, mutual support, and create healthy businesses. This will speed up the pace of driving sustainability forward, and it will result with a chain of positive actions. There are many more Aishas and Lisa's out there. And time is ticking. We need to step up our game. We are far behind from our vision for equality. And we want empathy. Do you?
Did you know that the 3 major challenges holding women back from contributing to the global economy are lack of affordable childcare, limited access to safe transportation, and sociocultural barriers? Supporting women with these basic needs will allow them to equally participate in society and achieve self-fulfillment as leaders. Many production facilities are geographically concentrated, which allows for shared costs for centralized resources. We urge you to form partnerships to provide localized solutions such as childcare, transportation, and human rights education. Brands and manufacturers must collaborate with local and international organizations to fund and operate these centers to dissolve the barriers that are holding women back. These initiatives are designed for and by the communities they serve, therefore empowering all stakeholders with cultural empathy. Imagine the possibilities. These support structures have the potential to evolve further and boost entire communities. But what if we do nothing? Consider the economic impact. Consider the humanitarian impact. You must collaborate to catalyze systematic change and propel women into leadership so that they can uplift future generations. Consumers already demand change. 81% of female consumers want fashion brands to tackle gender inequality in their supply chains. We want collaboration. Do you?
The whole supply chain is drenched in gender oppression. In social media and brand communications, women are portrayed as sexualized objects, and stereotypes are stressed through labels that are put on people. The fashion industry is the biggest driver of those stereotypical images, and you have to stir change. Brands in this room, we urge you to create a global movement and reach with your brand power awareness of gender equality issues and position yourself as leaders of this movement. It is time to be bold. Create authentic and creative communication to disrupt the free of all people and the binary stereotypes. It is not about creating new products, but putting special focus on your marketing and communication strategies to address customers as humans, not genders. Every human being should have the freedom to identify with the gender which fits him best. As you can see, gender inequality can have as many forms and faces as oppression. It can be a young woman in Congo who is not able to work because she's in danger of sexual harassment. It can be the woman in your office not being paid the equal amount as her male colleague. Or the increasing number of teenagers not identifying with the gender norms media is pushing them into. This is where all of you come in. NGOs, we need your expertise and authority. Decision makers, we need your leadership to push your global agenda. Academia, we need you to educate the next generation. And finally, all of you participants of the Fashion Summit, we need you to take responsibilities. After 10 years of the Copenhagen Fashion Summit, we still do not have equality in the fashion industry. It's about time. We are the future of this industry, and we want to act now.